You're with the Sound of Ideas from IdeaStream Public Media. I'm Stephanie Haney. Thank you for staying with us. The Port of Cleveland is a major economic driver of the region, supporting some 23,000 jobs and contributing more than $4.7 billion to the Northeast Ohio economy annually. The port's influence reaches far beyond just the things that are being transported through docks on the lakefront. They're involved in financing large housing projects, environmental endeavors, and reshaping the banks of the Cuyahoga River. And now the port has new leadership, as former CEO Will Friedman stepped away from the job after 14 years. With me in studio to talk about his role is the new president and CEO of the Port of Cleveland, Jeff Epstein. Jeff, welcome back to the Sound of Ideas.
Thanks. Great to be here.
Now, if you would like to join this conversation, you can give us a call. That number is 866-578-0903. You can also send us an email at soi@ideastream.org or send us a message on Instagram at the Sound of Ideas. Now, Jeff, you spent the last few years in Cleveland Mayor Justin Bibb's administration. You were the chief of integrated development for the city of Cleveland. What was it that made you want to move to this new role?
Really, it was an opportunity to continue doing the work that I was doing at City Hall, just from a different vantage point, and continue advancing some of the critical items that are on Mayor Bibb's agenda, on County Executive Renane's agenda, but just with different tools and a different organization.
What's it been like stepping into this role after the predecessor had been there for such a long amount of time? 14 years is a long time to be leading an organization.
Yeah, it's a tremendous opportunity. It's a really good organization that has had tremendous impact, has a really talented, dedicated staff. And I talked to everybody about this as an opportunity to really go from good to great. I think Will did an incredible job of building up our maritime business, making critical investments in the port, stewarding the Irishtown Bend project. Now I think it's really an opportunity for us to think about how we can use some of our development finance tools to advance critical regional priorities, how we can continue to focus on the impact of the port on people in Northeast Ohio, on jobs, on quality of life, on strengthening our economy, and getting us towards growth.
Let's talk about the economy a bit here and the port and what it means for the region of Northeast Ohio. President Donald Trump's tariffs that are in place right now, they've grabbed a lot of attention this year. So what's been your experience in terms of how the tariffs are impacting the shipping industry coming through Northeast Ohio?
The tariffs have definitely been a little bit of a challenge. We are down in cargo this year. Same number of ships, just less stuff coming on them. We're hoping that will recover. But broadly speaking, a lot of our traffic is within the United States, bringing in iron ore from the Northern Great Lakes to support Cleveland Cliffs. That traffic is up. And we certainly hope to be able to steer through these tariffs and continue back on a growth trajectory again.
Let's talk about some of the things that the port is involved in that may be lesser known to people. Some of the specific projects involved with include the Warner and Swayze building in Cleveland's Midtown neighborhood and the Westinghouse project in Detroit Shoreway. So can you tell us how the port's involved there? Yeah,
ports under Ohio law have a lot of really unique financing tools to help development projects. We have bond structures and capital lease structures that can help with lower rate financing, with filling gaps on projects. And so we're going to do probably about a dozen projects this year, totaling close to $300 million of bonds. And those are tools that I think we can use a lot more proactively to think about how can we deploy those tools to help advance the efforts around Site Readiness Fund and getting clean sites for factories to relocate and onshore in Cleveland. How can we use those to advance and solve our housing crisis? So these are great tools that we want to make more available. We want to be out more. We want to be more proactive with, but we're really excited about the impact we've had and will continue to have.
Has that always been a part of the port's mission, financing other projects?
Always been a part of the port's mission.
Daryl in Euclid emails in and says, first, congratulations, Jeff.
Thank you, Daryl.
And then asks, what are some of the criteria for the projects that the port gets involved with? He's specifically asking about the Burke Airport redevelopment and the Haslam Brook Park project, but in general and related to those things.
Yeah, we're really looking for positive impact on the community. How does it help us solve our problems? How do projects help us grow? We're evaluating each project individually to make sure it's financially feasible. With respect to Burke, that is certainly a project that we expect to be engaged in. Part of what the port does as well is to help keep our federal shipping channel moving on the Cuyahoga River. And so we work closely with the Army Corps that dredges the river. They have to, when the ships come through with their propellers, it kicks loose a lot of silt. And if nothing is done, that will gradually build up and ships can't get through the river. So we, with respect to Burke, have dredge placement facilities out off the coast of Burke Airport where we store that dredge material. And so I expect we'll be engaged and supportive of the efforts to close Burke.
Okay. I want to remind people that we are talking with the new president and CEO of the Port of Cleveland, Jeff Epstein. If you want to be a part of this conversation, if you have a question or a comment, you can call 866-578-0903. You can also email us at soi@ideastream.org. We have a call now from Todd in Ward 1. Todd, welcome to the Sound of Ideas. Go ahead.
Stephanie, Jeff, you couldn't have been a better guest for what I wanted to talk about. What is the cost to the taxpayer annually, or at least in the last 5 years, to run the port? And is the Coast Guard in any negotiations that you're aware of to expand their physical structures, their buildings, and their impact to the port? Because the Coast Guard in Cleveland is the headquarters for the 9th District, and that's of all the Great Lakes, and that's important.
Thanks for the question. So the port supports itself mostly on our business activities, from running the port, running the dredging facilities, financing fees. We have a small tax levy that brings in about $3 million a year, and that typically is used to help us make infrastructure investments and bring in federal money. We're in the midst right now, for example, of implementing a $95 million Clean Port grant from the US EPA, where we will be electrifying most of our port equipment, putting solar on the roof of our warehouse. That will help to improve dramatically air quality on Lake Erie and in the community. And we're extremely grateful to the taxpayers of Cuyahoga County for their support. And that $3 million, the number that you shared at the beginning, yields over $4 billion of regional economic impact and supports 23,000 jobs in Northeast Ohio. I am not aware of the Coast Guard's specific expansion, but I know we work very closely with them on harbor safety issues, on ice breaking when that is needed, and on border security issues with our port.
Thank you for the question, Todd. We appreciate it. Let's talk more about that $95 million grant from the Environmental Protection Agency, and that's part of the Clean Ports program. So can you tell us how that makes its way into, how that fits into the port's mission for protection of the environment and sustainability?
Absolutely. The Port of Cleveland has really been a leader in terms of environmental sustainability on the port. We a number of years ago put in a system to filter all the stormwater that comes through the port and filter it and treat it before it goes back into the lake. We also have a program where that dredge material that comes in, a portion of it is dried out and treated and then is reused for fill in construction projects across Northeast Ohio. So we've got a history of caring for our environment. And this Clean Port grant is really going to be incredible in terms of leveraging solar power to power most of the port. Our cranes, our reach stackers, our forklifts all will be electrified. We're building a new charging station and substation with Cleveland Public Power and those solar panels on the roof. And we expect that is going to make the port cleaner, make the air cleaner, and ultimately with our mission of keeping the water in Great Lakes cleaner too.
It's an important resource, that fresh water.
Absolutely.
That we have right here. We are lucky to have it here in Northeast Ohio.
We absolutely are.
We have an email now from Stephen. Stephen says, I was very disappointed to hear that the American Cruise Lines will not be stopping in Cleveland for their 2026 season. So let's talk a bit more about that. Stephen goes on to ask if there are any planned changes that would make it possible for any cruise ships to stop in Cleveland. So we'll start with that question and then talk a bit more about it.
Yeah, so we had a record year of cruise ships in Cleveland, and I think this is great for Cleveland on so many levels. The idea that 53 ships and 8,600 passengers want to come visit our great city and take advantage of all the incredible assets and visitor destinations here in Cleveland. Again, that was a record year. We expect to have another record year next year. It's unfortunate that American Cruise Lines is not coming. We hope to work something out with them in future years. I think one of the things that we are really looking at and thinking about, along with North Coast Waterfront Development Corporation and the city, is how to make the entry point into Cleveland for cruises even more welcoming. Right now, our customs facility is right at the edge of the port, and you're walking out onto a bus onto the parking lot behind the stadium. And as the plans to redevelop the lakefront continue, we are really looking forward to thinking about visitors to Cleveland being able to come in and have retail and food and coffee and a hotel and other amenities right there to be able to go to a store and buy Cleveland goods right there, because the first impression when they come in, we want to be stronger.
Can you tell us anything about how the decision was made for American Cruise Lines to not stop here with their
It was their decision.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. We have an email now from Jim. Jim has a comment for you. Jim says, Share the River is super grateful to the Port of Cleveland for their support of our annual Blazing Paddles River Festival on Cleveland's historic and scenic Cuyahoga River. We look forward to hosting a fun and festive America 250 Ohio event in July 2026. So what can you tell us about the events and things?
Yeah, I mean, there is an increasing number of events on our river and our lake, and I think that is tremendous. We have a really unique opportunity to embrace our waterfronts, do more, bring more development to the water, bring more people to the water, increase access, and big shout out to the county and the Freshwater Institute for lobbying and pulling everybody together around this tremendous opportunity around water. It was one of the big emphases when I was at City Hall with the mayor around waterfront access. The Bedrock Project, which, by the way, the port helped to finance, bringing the Cavs Clinic Peak Performance Center and kayak access to the river, the downtown lakefront north of the stadium, the Mandel Community Trail stretching east, certainly our Cheers project, which over the course of years will add more recreational amenity. We have an opportunity for our waterfronts to be our differentiating factor in Cleveland and attracting people to use the water and use the lake. And the Blazing Paddles Festival is just one example of ways we as community members can celebrate our waterfronts and our access to fresh water, because it's something that's truly unique about Cleveland. And the other thing I'll add that makes it even more unique is the fact that we have a working river and a working port. And so it is that nod to our industrial history and present and future that is part of what makes our waterfronts unique.
And of course, Jim, thank you for sending in the email talking about the 250th anniversary of the independence of America there, with the event coming up in July. And we've talked about the Browns Stadium a couple different ways now. So that's going away. The Browns will be moving to Brook Park. So how is the port currently involved in what to do after the stadium is gone?
Yeah, so I am serving on the North Coast Waterfront Development Corporation board that the city has tasked with helping to plan and redevelop the waterfront. It's a great organization. For those of you who haven't heard of it, that is based on national best practices of how to really take on large-scale, complicated developments. So we will be actively involved there. We are a neighbor, and I really also, to that point about our industrial working lake and river, there's an opportunity for the public to get closer to the port, to see what happens in the Port of Cleveland, to think about how that lakefront development will interface with the port and add to the uniqueness of waterfront development. So we're really excited about the development next to us, looking forward to being involved and supportive, both from a planning standpoint, potentially a financing standpoint, and as a neighbor.
What about the $100 million coming in from the Haslams? Does the port have any say in how that money is used in the redevelopment?
Ultimately, the city and the North Coast Waterfront Development Corporation will be involved in that, but we are very much looking forward to partnering. I think that money will be really critical to advancing development on the water.
Can you give us any kind of an idea? Are there any priorities that are on your mind that you think would be the best use of that space?
I think activities that bring more people down to the water, whether it is venues for events, whether it is restaurants, whether it is recreation. The city did a really incredible master plan for the lakefront a couple years ago. And as you look at some of the elements of that, the porches and the idea of modeling front porches where people can just hang on a lakefront, a fishing pier, a playground, sports courts, all of that active recreational activity. But I also think it's a tremendous opportunity for people who want to live on the water, who want to stay on the water in a hotel, who want to come to the water for an event. I think there's going to be plenty of great uses for that space.
Okay. Jeff Epstein, the new president and CEO of the Port of Cleveland, want to thank you for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Great to be here.
All right.